Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned in to another live edition of the LockerGnome Daily Report, or TLDR for short, your daily dose of geek news, reviews, and answers that you can use like an answer to the question, is today Friday the 13th? It is. This is like the second Friday the 13th we've had in a while. Did you know that you could get a Jason action figure, Friday the 13th, the movie series? I'm not going to do that. I'm not a fan of horror movies at all. I don't like horror movies. But I found out that DorksideToys.com has got pretty much all of the Funko reaction figures on sale. Like, they're like $4 a piece. So if you want to pick up some cheap action figures, you can, you should. DorksideToys.com has a Black Friday sale going on. I'm saying that because I know Fly Guy. He reached out to me months ago. He actually sent me a couple of figures to take a look at and showcase, and I did. In fact, today, even though I purchased it on my own, the Jedi Temple Guard from the Clone Wars series, we posted a show and tell video in the classic YouTube channel wherein I did an action figure review. I've never really done something like that before, but I'm really curious to know what people think about it. Because I'd like to do more of that kind of thing, if only because, I don't know, I became a fan of action figures. Talked about that yesterday with the Kickstarter project I backed. I backed the, what was it called? Like, they were action figures that women were creating. Elementals, the Elementals. I backed that, unboxed them, kind of, in the Christmas video in the vlog. I've always been a fan of action figures, I think, starting with my first one. Speaking of sales, if you wanted to get a Lego Minecraft set, today is the day. Pretty much every Lego Minecraft set currently available, and we're talking about the newer gen, all the 6 that I reviewed in various videos, they're available at 20% off on Amazon.com. So, here's the thing, because I told you about it. If you can, go through the links we're creating for you. We'll get the referral credit. We appreciate that. We'll be compiling a single blog post on LockerGnome.com that has all of them. I'll be tweeting all of them out throughout the day, because this 20% off sale may not be available by the time you look. So it's very, very important that you look now. You can save 20% on Minecraft Lego stuff. I already have it, so I don't need to save any more money on what I have. I'm very happy about that as well. I liked the Lego Minecraft series, if only because the minifigures, I admit it. I have like 6 different Steves now at this point, but what can I say? I'm a fan of the minifig. That's also very important. So when you go through the links that we create, we get the referral credit. You still save money. It doesn't cost you anymore. And then, we kind of help us move along. Speaking of helping us move along, I'm doing this TLDR today live, as I do every single weekday. But what we've tried to do, as, we've offered bonuses to the Super Nomies, a.k.a. my patrons. You're all my Nomies. You all are. But starting at just $2 a month, you can tune into all the live feeds, get tons of bonuses. That's it. Just $2 a month, right? That's the advantage, right? So if you watch this video after the 20% off sale, you missed it. And I gave you a chance to save money, but I can only do so much, right? And I even said I'm tweeting it out today. So thank you for paying attention. Thank you for pledging at least $2 a month to help us roll forward and keep doing the things that we're doing. But the change this week, we decided, based on what happened on Monday with the Apple announcements, and I'll be getting into more of that in a second. Normally, I stream at a certain time in the afternoon on weekdays. What we decided to do is stream earlier in the day on Monday and Friday, later in the day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So early in the day, later, early in the day. The reason why is because Monday and Friday are usually reserved for AMA, so I answer your questions. And I will be getting to that because the patrons, as a privilege, get their questions answered first. Everybody else after the fact. So don't worry, I still answer everybody's questions. I know some people just don't quite understand that. I'm doing as much as I possibly can do, and of course looking for as much support as I can get in return. We'll put the links for you in the video description. Speaking of, before I roll into the questions, something that we do a lot on deals.lockergnome.com. Offer a lot of deals, hardware, software, gadgets, tons of discounts on education. We posted something, the Quirky Spacebar Monitor Stand, 30% off. I'm considering getting this for this stand right here, if only so I can slide my keyboard underneath it to kind of keep this desk area clean. I'm considering, going and taking advantage of my own deal. I can do that, can't I? God, I hope I can. So it's got USB 3.0 ports, charging ports, very, very convenient for, pretty much anybody who might have a computer or a monitor that would stand on, or that would sit or stand on top of the stand, I guess. but I'm considering getting one and putting it right here because that's the kind of thing that I would like to have, if only to make my space clean, clear, less cluttered, seemingly, give access to more USB ports, which, come on, let's face it. Has anybody ever said, oh, I have too many USB ports? I'm sure there's one nerd out there who's doing that. You have too many USB ports. This is, in my head, this is like, I hear the nerd sound. That's the nerd sound to me, in my head. Does anybody else have a different voice in their head? Well, I'd imagine you had a different voice in your head. 30% off the quirky spacebar, deals.lockergnome.com. I'm likely going to get it. We've got the drone giveaway, the DJI Phantom 2 drone giveaway, also at deals.lockergnome.com. And pre-order on the Snowflake micro drone, 42% off. So there we go. We're saving you money on stuff. I haven't even gotten started in answering people's questions here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into that because we have a few to address in this particular broadcast. And if you're not tuned in live, if you're just listening to the YouTube video afterwards, you should still get just as much value from this, or for the most part. You may be listening to the podcast. We do have a podcast that's corresponding to these broadcasts. You can get it at SoundCloud. You can subscribe in iTunes. We're still pushing one out every weekday. Mitchell C. McClendon asks, Chris, since the release of the Apple MacBook, the new one, I've noticed a lot of negative views about it, especially since it will now only have one port, the USB-C. So in your opinion, how well do you think it will do compared to the MacBook Air? Thanks. This is a great question. I've been looking at it at a distance, and as I said during the live announcements, that was published live for everybody on Monday, just a few days ago. I've seen a lot of the sentiment. I've seen a lot of the analysis. Of course, I looked at the website outright. I've not seen one in person. I explained that I am not the user for that notebook at all. The user for that notebook would be someone who does a lot of traveling, someone who doesn't need a lot of accessories, someone who's trying to go wireless. That's the user for that computer. It kind of surprised me more than anything, with the MacBook, because it's called it's a MacBook, not the MacBook Air. That's what was most surprising to me. It wasn't the next gen MacBook Air. In fact, it's more expensive than the MacBook Air, but yet it's thinner than the MacBook Air. I don't know how that works. Battery life is not as good, but it's really the next generation in hardware. I expect the price to come down. And when I say next generation of hardware, I'm talking about the construction of it, not necessarily the hardware that goes into it. But it's really for someone who's on the go and someone who doesn't need an awful lot beyond what they have in front of them. I think, from my perspective, if you want a lot of ports, the MacBook Air or this MacBook are not for you. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to say it. I know some people are going, it's not for you. I mean, okay, so another thing that kind of threw me back, they're not including the FaceTime camera, the HD FaceTime, which they've had in MacBooks for eons. They actually went back, and I was kind of taken aback. But again, I started to think, well, I guess if it saves them money, and that the users who are relying on the system probably are not people who are looking for exactly bleeding edge performance or bleeding edge anything. They want to be mobile and super lightweight. They travel light. They're looking for something that's just powerful enough. So I think that's what the MacBook is for. It's for people who are looking for something that is just portable enough and powerful enough. That's it. So you can't fault Apple for creating this device. I won't, because it's for a user that I'm not. And so I don't think it's very... I understand why a lot of nerds are going, people are stupid if they buy that. Well, come on, dude. How would you feel if you wanted that and someone called you stupid? It's just not right. Number one, it's rude. Number two, it's just wrong outright. You're not the user for it. That does not mean it's any less of a product that's valuable to the user that it may have been designed for. So, the negative views that you might be seeing aren't from actual users. They're from nerds. They're from people who wanted it to be better. But you know what? It didn't need to be better to address the market that it was designed for. This is not me being an Apple apologist at all. This is not me defending it at all. I'm just saying you got to accommodate it. Just because it's not for you doesn't mean it's not for nobody. That's a very myopic view that, unfortunately, this is not the first product or even company that I have to talk about and really kind of set perspective straight. Just because it's not for you doesn't mean it's not for nobody. Not for nobody? Not for anybody. And I see this happening over and over again. You don't want the Nexus 7. Nobody wants the Nexus 7. You don't want the latest Star Wars film. Nobody wants the latest Star Wars film. You don't want this. Nobody wants that. It's just so incredibly myopic. That's the best word I could use to describe anytime I see commentary like that. And it's painful to see that commentary coming from people that should know better. They really should know better, especially because they're in a position where when they share their opinions, it's very, very powerful. I'm going to tell you, I've not tried it. I don't plan on buying it. Even if, and this is not going to happen, Apple ever sent me a review unit, I'd probably come up with the same conclusion. Because just look at it. Look at how it's being built. Look at how it's being marketed. It's not going to be for the power user. If you want ports, don't get the MacBook. And if that's your chief complaint, don't get the MacBook. If you're complaining because it has a lesser quality webcam, don't get the MacBook. If you're complaining because the battery life is not as great as it would have been, let's say, in a MacBook Air, don't get the MacBook. But that does not mean that Apple's not trying to serve a new audience. Ultimately, the deciding factor won't be the nerd who's sitting at his keyboard or her keyboard banging away. This is stupid, I'm pointless, blah, 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 blah. Drivel. Talk to the people who actually want to buy it. The market will decide, and let the market decide. If it's a failure, we will know. We'll all know together. I'm not going to mark it up as a failure, because usually the same people who said, the iPad is for nobody. Nobody's going to want this. Nobody. Let the market decide. Not for me. I think it looks sexy. I think it's heralding in the future for portable computing. Yes, I do. I think it's cyclical. I think you'll see manufacturers and competition point and go, ha ha. And ultimately, years from now, watch those same manufacturers do the same thing. Watch them. Watch them do it. Watch them. Watch them do it. I guarantee they'll do it. Guarantee they'll do it. In fact, there was I'm not going to name names, but I saw this amazing animated GIF. Love animated GIFs. Saw it on Twitter this morning. There was an OEM that basically compared the new MacBook, the thickness of the new MacBook, to one of their computers. But unfortunately, the marketing material was a bit disingenuous. So, okay, I'm going to exaggerate a bit here. So, they were saying, okay, here's the thickness, how many millimeters the new MacBook is, and here's how thick ours is. Well, they were comparing numbers and spec by spec, but they actually flattened their version. So someone came along, a designer came along, and actually made it mathematically more even. And once that discrepancy was widened, so this was marketing, and this was actuality. It was like the gap between the two was like, imperceivable for the average user. They're taking pot shots at Apple, and that's fine. That's what competition does, but I think Apple's making the right decision in terms of minimizing our reliance on ports. That's not to say that ports aren't important, because obviously we need power. And that's where I think Apple's made the right decision. Again, I'm not the user. I would not get along with it. Let me put it this way. I've got 3 cables coming into my computer right now. Now, granted, if I could do the same thing through a docking station, I'd probably do that. I can't, though, at this stage. I've got my power going into the MacBook that's feeding this live video. This is a MacBook Pro, latest gen 15-inch. I've got my Thunderbolt 2 port that's connected by way of a FireWire connection. That's the way I'm mounting this camera. I have no alternative at this stage. And then I have a USB cable that's connected to the webcam, which I use. Well, I can toggle it. Give me a second. I've never done this in a TLDR video before. It'll look crappy, though. I already know it's going to look crappy. When I do the CPU behind the scenes, I record locally from this camera. And then the Super Gnomies who tune in So I'm going to flip back to this particular camera. There you go. I've never done that before. That was kind of fun. So I've got those 3 cables plugged in, so I would need some kind of docking station. But I think you lost audio. You lost audio? How'd you lose audio? That's weird. I wonder if when I flipped over, the software didn't. Sorry if you lost audio. I was told by Pez Liz there was no audio. You now have audio. I explained it. I was explaining that that's how people see CPU behind the scenes, and the Logitech camera, it's another thing. This is what happens when a non-production geek does anything with production. He loses audio. You think this is like I'm not pretending. I care. But I'm just not a production geek. I don't want to deal with that. I just want to talk. It's what I love doing. I need to find more supernomies to expand my team. I know I do. I need to find other people in Seattle who want to do this. Every time I run into a production snag like that, it depresses me. It honestly does. Okay, back to the MacBook, which is probably what you're more interested in now anyway. Or not interested in. We'll find out. This is just based on one question here. Look how long I'm going. So, it's not for me. I need the power of the MacBook Pro. Ports are a bonus. Of course, naturally. And I also use the SD card slot when I connect my vlogging camera, which I haven't even started vlogging today. I transfer by way of that. It's just easier to do. So I'm not the user for it. But where Apple, I think, succeeded was by going with USB Type-C. That, I think, is just going to take over USB. I mean, forget all, you'll have attachments and dongles and everything and converters. That's a given. It's a given. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. We're moving the direction of USB Type-C. I love it. Reversible. Love it. Cross-platform. Love it. I have no problem with that. I think it was smart for them to do because they could design that MacBook to be thinner, to be more power efficient, and only rely on one port. Now, anybody else who might need more ports could get a docking station, connect one, and then you got all the power and everything that you might need externally. I think that's fine. I have no issue with that whatsoever at all. Any more than I would have an issue with another piece of outdated technology that I hardly ever use. God, I use it so little I can't even remember where the hell I put it. Where the hell did I... Oh, here it is. This. Remember this? Remember this? And people complain like, the MacBook doesn't have a CD drive. How am I gonna mount my CDs? No one's gonna buy the new MacBook because it doesn't have a CD drive. I don't want to buy it. It's not for me. Have I made my point? Okay, I haven't. Hang on, let me see if I can find something else. I know I've got it somewhere here. Give me a second. This is where all my old technology goes, in drawers. Because it's useless after a certain point. All these damn cords and cables. That's the thing I can't wait for, USB Type-C to come along. Is it in here? Come on. Don't tell me I've gotten rid of it. I couldn't have gotten rid of it. Where is it? Do I have it? Come on. You're joking. Oh, I know where I have it. I have it downstairs. That's how old it is. It's an external floppy drive. All you were going to hear me do is whine again and pretend to be somebody else. So, I think they're right in going the direction of one port, USB Type-C. That is the future. One port to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. You're going to see USB Type-C popping up everywhere. I think it was a smart way of going. Not for me, but it's still a smart way of going. Glad to see them kind of taking the lead on that. So my opinion, it will do well, but for a certain type of audience. I don't think that the MacBook, as we're talking about it, the new MacBook, is really going to be for everybody. And the people who want it will get it. And if they don't want it, they won't get it. I don't know what else to tell you. The market will decide. I've already decided I'm not going to get it. I don't think anybody in my community is necessarily going to get it either because many people would want something that was completely spec'd out. Not everybody wants that. Obviously me. I don't want that either. So there's my answer to the question, Mitchell C. McClendon. Great question. Very relevant to this week's topic. I'm going to go ahead and move on with other questions now, if you don't mind. Thank you. Adam Toms asks, hey, Chris and Diana. Well, Diana's not here. Have you found a baby gadget that you found to be indispensable? No. We've got, baby toys that, got electronics in them and everything, but I wouldn't say they're indispensable. We've really liked the rocker, the Mamaroo. That's been nice. They sent us a beta one, which we haven't really talked about because it was in beta. But it's they're nice, and in fact, that I don't think I could have gotten along with any other swing. Jedi likes it. She sleeps just fine. She's going to be getting through the stages of with learning toys, so we'll see how that goes. I may, pardon me. I'm so sorry. I may end up doing, or we may end up doing, I don't know how it's going to work exactly, but maybe in Diana's channel, like baby toy reviews, because it's a mommy kind of thing, potentially. We'll see. Because I don't think I'd do a baby toy review in my channel, unless people would want it. The classic YouTube channel where I do show and tell and CPU videos. We'll see. But no, I think most baby gadgets suck. Quite honestly, they're pieces of junk. I'm sorry. I'll take it a step further. Overpriced pieces of junk. You know what the best baby monitor is? Built in. Yeah. Which series, film, theme would you like to see from the Lego group? I'm excited for the Doctor Who ideas set and hope it leads to a full series. I'm sure it will, Adam. Honestly, I talked about this in the past too. A lot of 80s stuff has done very well with Lego because you've got a lot of people like me, adult fans of Lego, who, we now have kids of our own. They're getting into Lego. We're rekindling our interest in Lego. So the Ghostbuster set was one of them. What was the other? Oh, Back to the Future, 80s. You've got the Goonies set potentially in ideas coming. I hope that gets... I bet you it will. Just based on the successes of the other two, I bet you it will. And then, of course, Doctor Who. I think Doctor Who could do quite well, if only because of the Doctor Who fans who have been into collecting. Doctor Who would be like one of those series that if they release Doctor Who, yes, I'd want to get the minifigures. I'm a fan of the minifigures. So I would say, yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'd go with Doctor Who. I like when they... some people don't like this, but I like when they go into brand and licensing deals. I like that. I'm very excited to get the new Simpsons minifigures in the series. I don't know if I'm going to be getting the Quickie Mart, like $200. I'm not sure if I'm necessarily going to get my money's worth out of that. I like the Simpsons, but I like the minifigures. The Simpsons house I needed to get. That was a must get. So there's the answers to your questions. Brian H. asks, hey Chris, back for more weekly AMA fun. Have you heard of the Mayo armband? I've heard of it. I think in the future, after some serious development, this device could be one of those things we wonder how we lived without. Seems a little gimmicky right now, but I think it can prove to be a great tool. Do you have any thoughts on this? Thanks. I don't know much about it. It's another wearable, and I think, the wearables are still very invasive. Honestly, I am waiting for a wearable that puts the sensor back here. Where the glasses... If I was a technologist, if I was an engineer, I'd figure out how to do Apple Watch type of stuff back here. Put the sensors where they're touching the back of my skull, back there, behind the ears. And then have a heads-up display up here. And, get all my interaction, I wouldn't want to touch anything. It'd have to almost be like a virtual reality kind of, almost like the way they're doing it with the HoloLens with Microsoft. But I'd imagine that having the sensors built into your glasses back here is a lot less invasive because you're already wearing this, if you do wear glasses or sunglasses, than wearing something on your wrist. I think that's incredibly invasive. Not to say that glasses aren't invasive, but I think it's going to get better. Over time, it's going to get better. Sensors are going to get to the point where you're just going to be able to put on maybe a very tiny patch at the beginning of the day. Patch. Just like a Band-Aid patch. And then you take it off at the end, or you keep it on for a week or whatever. Because they'll be able to get the electronics, everything that you could do in, something that would seem bulky, like this. The power of this is going to be invisible, quote-unquote, invisible, at some point in the future. It's just inevitable. That's the way technology goes. So a lot of tech these days is very, very, very gimmicky. But it will get better over time. Liz asks, and this may very well be the last question, because I kind of went really deep into my thoughts. In fact, that may very well be the title for this TLDR. My thoughts on the new MacBook. Great title. Great title. And thank you, Mitchell C. McClendon, for asking that question. She asks, what do you think was missing from the Apple announcements this week? Do you think other companies can fulfill what's missing? I don't think anything was missing. I don't think anything needs to be missing for Apple to not have had a successful event. The drive for this event was really to announce the, primarily the Apple Watch, but in tow, they had another announcement that they figured they'd slide in. I wasn't expecting a lot other than the Apple Watch, though. You might remember. Any kind of software updates we would likely hear either online when they release a public beta, which they now have done with iOS 8.3, or we'd wait till WWDC to hear anything about the next version of iOS. I am excited about that, if only to see how much performance they've eked out of iOS on various devices. That's my expectation with iOS 9, but I don't expect to hear anything about that until WWDC. Then separately, we would likely hear the next iPhone announcements. Separately, we would likely hear the next iPad announcements. So it was par for the course. Didn't surprise me at all. I don't think anything was missing. You asked, do you think? Why? What do you think? I don't think anything was missing. If anybody was underwhelmed, their expectations were too high. I don't know what to tell them. You should never believe in the rumor mill. Don't put faith in that. You should have expected it to be an Apple Watch announcement, and anything else you got was just a bonus. That's it. Apple didn't promise anything. Spring forward on the weekend of daylight saving time, which we need to get rid of. That's the thing Apple needs to do. If Apple wants to change the world, or specifically this country, get rid of that. DST. Bleh. Tired of that. Now I feel like I'm getting up earlier. I don't know, I'm all messed up in the head. I'd say that anyway. I'm going to go ahead and roll into our Patron Hangout, which we do every weekday. You can join us. All you got to do is become one of the Super Nomies, starting at $2 a month. Get tons of bonuses. Thank you for your support. The other questions that everybody's been answering in the open Facebook thread will be addressed on Monday. And so thank you for asking further questions. Do appreciate everybody's support. I really, really do. I'm going to shoot a few, not CPU episodes, show and tell videos. I've shot 4 that I need to currently edit. I posted 6. Sorry, I have only 5 fingers on one hand. I posted 6 bonus show and tell videos for the Super Nomies to see ahead of time. Everybody else will get them as they roll out publicly. So I've got to do some video editing this weekend. I plan on shooting maybe 1 or 2 more over the weekend. We will see how that goes. I'm having fun doing those show and tell videos. A lot of fun. It's a lot of work to do the video editing for me, but I'm doing it, happily doing it, especially for the people that do care about it. I was surprised to see how many people really liked my Starbucks bacon croissant review, whatever the hell that thing was called. A lot of people liked it. I got to do more food reviews in the car. I got to find more fun food. Okay, so here's the thing. I know everybody follows tech, but everybody eats and everybody drinks. When you find a new food or hear about a new food, like fun, cereal, fast food, whatever, let me know about it, because I didn't realize until the other day that there's chocolate Lucky Charms, but I guess they've been out for a while. So I don't want to try it because it's been out for a while and I'd look stupid. Like, oh, I already had the chocolate Lucky Charms, Chris. Gosh, review being late much? I got to know when new things happen. Sometimes you know these new things. I don't know. I'm serious. When you tweet me, sometimes I even retweet you if you tell me about something new. Now, if you tell me about something that I've done, I don't know how many times, even in Facebook, I love it. Everyone's telling me about the Darth Vader toaster. I'm like, I know, I reviewed it like over a month ago and did the video that apparently you missed. It's right there. And then I go in and I paste the link. They say, hey, did you see the Darth Vader toaster? I'm like, hey, did you see my review on it a month ago? I love having this frustration, but at the same time, I kind of wish I had a better way of helping you discover the things that I've done. I'm always looking for a solution. Hopefully, the LockerGnome app will be rebooted on Android and iOS at some point in the future. The company's not getting back to me. I've kind of pinged them a couple times, and they were saying they'd be ready by now, and it's like, okay, where are we, folks? Kind of waiting to get the community rebooted here on your app, and nothing. Crickets. Cheep tweet, tweet tweet, tweet tweet, tweet tweet. That's my version of a cricket. Tweet tweet, tweet tweet, tweet tweet. Thank you for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you, but at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices.